Me and a couple friends last year decided we wanted to go camping. We wanted to do something we usually wouldn't do, for fun. And this is what we all agreed to. This was completely out of character for us, but it was just us boys, a few tents, and all the food we thought we would need for the weekend. This wasn't your average campground. It was in the middle of the woods, off some back roads in a small town in Tennessee. We're more of suburban kids, so it was a bit of a culture shock for us, but nonetheless, we were excited. Shortly after we arrived and got camp set up, we met some locals who told us something about this place being haunted, and that there were very strange things that happened here during the night only. Something about some sort of beast, or a weird old creepy man? I don't know. I wasn't even listening because I thought it was pathetic. We thought they were just trying to mess with us and joke around or whatever. Of course I didn't believe it. I mean, like, seriously, are you kidding me? I'm not 12. We arrived late afternoon, so after setting up camp there wasn't much to do other than hang out by the fire and drink some beers. We were all having a blast. We started telling each other scary stories for fun and to add to the camp atmosphere vibe, if you will. We got s'mores and hot dogs out and completely pigged out. After a few hours of being boys and getting absolutely wasted, it was off to bed. We had to wake up early tomorrow morning because we all planned to go fishing at a nearby lake within walking distance. I couldn't sleep right away because I had to pee really bad. I couldn't find my flashlight, so I said to hell with it. I walked over maybe 30 feet from camp and peed by a tree. It was pitch black, and I mean as black as it gets, especially with the fire being almost all the way out. I heard something rustling before me in the woods. Whatever, I thought. It's probably just a bunny or a deer, like something harmless. Even though initially it spooked me, and that was only because it caught me off guard and you can't see a damn thing. I couldn't even see my own hand in front of my face. I made my way back to my tent, got on my sleeping bag while trying my best not to wake anyone up. I tried to fall asleep, but I couldn't. I was having some anxiety, and I'm a light sleeper, so hearing everyone snore was driving me nuts. Within an hour, I started to doze off, but then, all of a sudden, I awoke to rustling in the leaves. It was a lot louder this time, and whatever the hell it was making a very strange noise. Almost what you would expect a wild beast to sound like. Yes, I said beast, because I don't know how else to describe it. I immediately thought of what those locals told us, and I was thinking, no, calm down, I'm overreacting, I told myself. There's no such thing as monsters. Yeah, you could say I was scared shitless, but my friend sleeping next to me woke into panic as well. What the hell, Darren said. Dude, what is that? Is that a bear? I don't know, but what should we do? We both kind of sat there for a moment while we tried to piece together what the next move was. We didn't want to run, because if that was a bear and it started chasing us in the middle of the night, I don't imagine that would end well for us. I was sitting and I was thinking, well, it's probably smartest for us to just stay in here and wait it out. So that's what we did. We sat there in silence for about an hour, whispering here and there. Darren fell back asleep shortly after, but I still couldn't sleep knowing there was something out there. Call me a wimp or whatever, but I'm sure most of you would be freaking out too. I lied awake most of the night, just like hours of just thinking. I think I dozed off again for a moment, and I heard whatever the hell that thing was again, messing around with some of our belongings at camp this time. It was about morning by now, so there was a little bit more light. I opened my tent, looked outside, and I shit you not, there were 3 black bears looking directly at me. Okay, so it was a monster, just not the type of monster the locals warned me about. They started making their way towards me slowly. I started yelling at them, hey, get back, go away. Guys, wake up, help. Everyone got up slowly, but thankfully a few friends of mine woke up in time. As we were all yelling at them, it didn't take long before the bears ran away. Had I been alone, who knows what would have happened. I'm just thankful my friends were there. We ended up staying another night at camp and the bears didn't come back. That was probably a bit risky, but everyone left unharmed, thankfully. My family and I go camping 3 or more times a year at all different types of campgrounds across the US. This particular time we were in Indiana. I can't remember the city because I was so young, but it was a Yogi Bear Jellystone campground. I love this place to pieces and I've been here over 5 times throughout my life. One of the first times we went, something horrible happened. Keep in mind, I was only a kid at the time. I had made some friends my age at the park. We did all sorts of things, played basketball, went to the arcade, went swimming and fishing. You name it, we did it. It was a lot of fun and everything was going great. We were staying there for a couple weeks too, so I had lots of time. My friend Jake on this particular evening mentioned that we should take a walk through the trails. Of course I was interested. It was like one of the only things this place had to offer that we hadn't explored yet. As we were exploring the trails, we realized it was a lot bigger than we thought it was, so only shortly after we decided it was time to go back to the campsite. It was getting dark, and park curfew was 9:30 anyway, so we had to head back soon. We waited for our parents to go to sleep for what felt like forever. We decided that it would be fun to go walk through the trails with our flashlights given how dark it was. I know that sounds silly, but we were kids, so I'm sure you can understand why that might sound fun for some crazy teenagers. On our way there, Billy was freaking out because we were breaking the rules and he was a goody two-shoes, so he wimped out and went back to camp. I wish we all would have done the same because maybe my friend would still be alive. So, it was only me, Jake, and Carter. Carter was older than us, so I guess he thought it was funny. He ran away from us and hid. He was just trying to scare us. We spent at least 10 minutes looking for him before he finally jumped out and scared the hell out of us. I was kind of irritated, but we laughed it off. At this point, we had been walking for maybe 20 minutes, not really paying any attention to where we were walking. Jake and I were starting to get worried and hoped we weren't lost. Carter thought it would be funny to continue messing with us, so he ran off and hid on us again. Eventually we got sick of looking for him, so we yelled that we were leaving if he didn't come out. I felt bad for ditching, but I was sick of him messing with us and he knew it. So we turned around and started making our way back. A few minutes after walking, I heard screams. It was Carter. We thought he was just messing around with us still, so we continued walking. A brief moment later, I realized something terrible was happening. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. There's no way he was that crazy or that good at acting. We immediately ran back to our parents. I mean, I've never ran that fast in my life. I told my family what was going on, and we all went looking for him. My mom stayed at the camper and called the police. The park security got involved, and the rangers were giving my dad a hard time and not taking us seriously at all. One ranger was practically hounding my dad the whole time. We couldn't find Carter. We had been searching for over an hour. Nothing. There was no sign of him anywhere. Carter's parents were freaking out and blaming my parents for everything. Eventually they kicked my family out of the park and we weren't allowed back until next year. They never found Carter to this day. I blame myself for his disappearance. The guilt haunts me every single day of that I should have done something different. I used to love camping, but I am completely traumatized from a few years back. I'm not sure if I'll ever go camping again. So here's my story. We went camping one summer, like we always did. I grew up at this campground. Well, not really, but like I've been camping here with my family since I was a baby. In 2016, I was 14 years old. It was our first day camping of the year. Everything was normal, except this time I was a year older and I didn't have any friends with me. I'm not an only child. I do have a little sister, but she's 7 years younger than me. So as you can probably figure, we don't have too much to relate on. I was kind of alone. I would go to the park alone, get ice cream alone. I mean, my parents didn't let me do whatever I wanted all the time, and I did spend time with them too, but a lot of the time it felt like I was alone. I would ride my bike around the campground a lot. That's mainly what I did when I was bored. This campground was pretty big in space, but it's not your typical campground, where there are motorhomes, tents, fifth wheels, etc. lined up right after another. There were lots more space in between, filled with tons of trails and all different types of trees. You get it. It was a nice campground. There was a really creepy cabin I used to pass by all the time when I was riding my bike. The cabin was pretty far from my campsite, and pretty far from any other campsite as well. It looked empty, like no one was camping there during that time. One day when I was riding by, I saw that the front door was cracked open. I mean, I have rode past this cabin at least 50 times in the past 4 to 5 days, and I knew for a fact there was no one camping there. Or so I thought. Geez, I just wish I never would have gone in there. Of course, my curiosity got the best of me, and I ever so slowly made my way up the couple steps onto the porch and slowly pushed the door forward. It was so eerie because the door was creaking the whole time. Probably for like 15 seconds. It was very cringe sounding. "Who's there?" I stood in complete silence, eyes wide, and my mouth dropped to the floor. The old man standing right across from me told me to come inside and reassured me it was okay. I turned around to leave, and immediately he yelled at me and told me to come back. I took off on my bike and drove away as fast as possible. There was nothing that really happened after that. I don't know what he wanted, but good thing I didn't have to find out. I went home in a panic. I didn't tell my parents because I was too scared. I don't know why, but the next day I drove past the cabin again. There was no sign of him. I know now that he was definitely trying to lure me in, and who knows what he was going to do. I hadn't seen him again until the last day of camping. I was at the arcade playing this basketball game. He came up right beside me and said, "Hey kid, how come you didn't want to hang out?" This guy, I still remember his face. He was really tall, skinny, old, and had long white hair and some beat up old clothes. His teeth were all jacked up and stained yellow as well. He gave me the weirdest smile ever and told me I was a clever little one. He then winked at me and walked away. I've never seen him again after that. We left the campground the next day and I still never told my parents. I don't know why, I just didn't think I needed to. That guy was definitely a predator and was definitely trying to prey on me. It didn't work on me though, and God forbid it doesn't work on anyone else.